Some movement with the coaching search, maybe already? Is this really happening? We got to talk about it right now. CHGO Bears Podcast right now. Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast on this Tuesday in Chicago. Got a big day here at CHGO. Get things going here with some coaching talk on this show. We got the 85 with Cole Kmet coming later tonight. 7 p.m. is when you can catch that right here on CHGO. Adam Hoge, Mark Carman, Greg Braggs Jr. with you. How you guys doing?
Great. I'm doing outstanding, Adam. Great to see you. I'm really excited for today's show as per always, but there's just some special things that we're going to hit on the back end that I'm particularly going to have to focus on not talking about, even though I just talked about them. But I know we got a big guest coming up here to start the show, which is awesome.
Yeah, there was news involving a former Bears player that I told Carman if he brought it up before 1:30,
it's not
he was fired.
Yeah, but I'm not going to talk about Halas Jones right now.
Oh, there it is. We are expecting to talk to Jeremy Fowler from ESPN as well. ESPN senior reporter, and has one of their insiders that knows a lot more than we do, which is why he's coming on the show.
He just turned his camera off for a second because he saw us and was like, "No, I don't want to go out with those guys."
We good, Steven? All right, let's bring him in. Jeremy Fowler now joins us, and you can follow him on Twitter at JFowler ESPN. Jeremy, thanks for taking some time today. I know you got a busy schedule. Really appreciate it.
Hey, guys. No problem. Thanks for having me.
Jeremy, let's cut to the chase here. The Bears are terrible. We need help on the offensive line. You're dialed in on this top 25 free agents. You're doing phenomenal work. If you are the Bears, you got $80 million to spend. You got a lot of needs. If you were going to address the offensive line, who would you go after? I don't know why Hoge's laughing. This is a serious conversation. We need help on the O-line.
They need to hire a coach first.
Well, I don't forget the coach. I'm talking about. I want to go to the O-line.
I didn't expect O-line to be the opening question.
Neither, Jeremy.
Well, I'm dialing in on protecting Caleb. That's where my head is at.
I mean, they need to get one of the top guys. I feel like that. Ryan Poles has developed a good roster. I think that's one area where they probably expected to be a little better. And so, I think Darnell Wright's the answer on the right side. Braxton Jones has played well in spots. So, but do you go get a tackle like a Cam Robinson? Maybe a trusted veteran, get somebody a little older who can help out, who's established. The market there is interesting because you have a lot of older players like a Tyron Smith or a Zach Martin are kind of older and beat up. So I don't know that you want to go that route unless you want to bring some pedigree and experience in to try to help younger players. So they're going to have to spend there, though. I think that's pretty certain.
And Trey Smith's name is being thrown in the chat here, German. He's, top of the market, 20 million plus for a guard. Would you be comfortable giving that level of money to I know it's very popular nowadays, but would you give a guard that money?
Probably. I mean, the Carolina Panthers gave Robert Hunt $20 million last year. Trey Smith is considered an upgrade. He's considered a top 10 interior player in the league. He can anchor for you. He can do a lot. You can build around him, really. So now he's been supported by good players around him in Kansas City, but I don't think that will result in him being exposed at all. It's just, if you got the money to spend, that's a trendy position now. It just depends on what the number is going to be. Like, he could be well over 20, and it could get ugly, and maybe the Bears would be uncomfortable with that. But I can certainly see it, especially with Ryan Poles' familiarity with the player, especially when he's drafted. He knows the medical history and why he dropped in the draft 4 years ago. And is that sustainable? Which it looks like he is. He's been a productive NFL player with no issues. So that's probably he might be the safest bet in the entire free agency class. A guy that is going to reset probably the entire positional market, not just for free agents, but for any guard.
Jeremy, before you covered the NFL, you covered college football for a long time. What is your reaction to these ongoing talks that appear to be happening with Bill Belichick at North Carolina. Obviously the sport has changed a lot since you were covering college football. It's just kind of remarkable, but I kind of get it. Like, I kind of get it. Like, you can sort of build your own roster now in college football and play GM at the same time as being the head coach.
Right. You can have a plan to formulate to have success now without having to be selling your program in living rooms. It does feel like that, because the issue with Belichick in college is, like, you really think that he could go in to a family's living room with his demeanor and, like, really, put on the charm and sell a recruit. It just doesn't seem like his nature. But now you can have good people to do that for you. You'd have to get a really good staff and probably have to get out of his comfort zone a little bit and get some heavy hitters in the recruiting world. But I mean, you can live off the transfer portal now. We're seeing that with teams. So you can break down the tape. You like a guy, you offer him some money, and you work it out. There's not a lot of selling that has to go on anymore compared to what it used to be. And nobody is better at that kind of thing, at identifying a player's strengths and how to use them, than Bill Belichick. So I think from that standpoint, he can be really successful. Otherwise, it's a complete wild card. It's just a great story. But I've really been hearing ever since late last week that he just wants to coach. And the NFL has a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of politics, and he could be tired of that.
So obviously all Bears fans want to talk about is the head coach decision that's coming up here in Chicago. You're hearing, a lot of rumors about a guy like Ben Johnson, and then the other side of the coin is a program leader, somebody that might bring some toughness to the organization. So where do you stand on where you think the pecking order of priority would be for the head coach here in Chicago?
I think both will be a priority as they set their interviews up. Like, they're going to go into all this with a short list of guys they at least are intrigued by and feel good about, but they have a lot of homework to do. I don't, speaking of Belichick, I don't think that would be the route if he is in the NFL pool, but I could see a Mike Vrabel being involved. I think he's going to be one of the stronger candidates because he's proven. And, talking to some people around the league, some do believe the Bears will try to lean on experience a little bit because the last hire didn't have that. And they want to see what somebody can do who has gone through the process, not only knows how to lead, but how to manage a game and how to get the best out of a roster. So, Vrabel would check some of those boxes. I don't know how that would work from a structure standpoint, but it's going to be interesting. I think it'll be a mix of offensive minds with established coaches, and you're probably going to see 10 to 12 names that get requested for an interview. And right now, it's just really like a fact-finding informational process. They haven't zeroed in on anybody. I do believe that the candidates are going to have questions about the setup between Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren. Like, not for good or bad, but they just are going to want to know what it's going to look like for the new candidates.
Well, you say, it's maybe not for good or bad, but just inquiring about Kevin Warren or Ryan Poles. But from what you gather, what is the perception of the current state of the Chicago Bears organization for people around the league?
It varies. I mean, there are perceptions in some circles that Kevin would be a big personality, and so would he have more influence than, say, Ryan Poles would have? But that's just more speculative. I know, from what I've been told, he has he's not dwelling in the minutia with Ryan Poles. He's letting Ryan do his thing day to day as the general manager. So there's not a lot of meddling going on. Now, with bigger decisions like this, certainly all the heavy hitters there have to be on board. But I do feel like, Ryan's able to do his job the way he needs to. So that's not a major issue.
Whether this has to do with the Bears or not, bringing it back to Belichick for a second, the timing is fascinating to me because, like you said, it's kind of a fact-finding time period right now, especially for the three teams that have already fired their coaches, that have interims in there right now. There's only so much you can kind of do at this time of year before the cycle really heats up at the end of the regular season. But that being said, like, you technically can talk to Belichick now, and he's apparently down the road with a college program. How serious that is. It's interesting to me from both sides, Jeremy. Like, does that put on pressure for teams to be like, well, wait a minute, Bill, do you want to talk to us? And the fact that Bill might not be waiting on the NFL at this point because more jobs are going to open, more opportunities are going to open.
Yeah. I do think there's an element here of maybe he's disenchanted by the process a little bit. This is one of the all-time winningest coaches, one of the best ever, and he couldn't get really even as a finalist to a job last year. So there's that. Does he want to wait that out and deal with some of those politics involved if he feels like he's already being muscled out? Does he want to pair with a general manager he doesn't know? Even though I think he's open to getting more help than trying to have to run personnel and run everything, especially at his stage in his life. But, do you want to have to answer to somebody new who's younger and maybe doesn't have the same ideas as you do? So I think for him, familiarity is probably pretty important. And, there's a question really, does he want to deal with all those things? But I think it's also pretty obvious right now that he's not an overly hot name. I think if he was, then there'd be some more back channel talking going on, or at least more tangible buzz about his NFL prospects. It doesn't seem to be the case right now for whatever reason. And so it looks like on the surface right now that he might just be full speed ahead with UNC.
So is that your expectation, that he will land with the Tar Heels?
These are always complicated talks. But I kept, when I was checking around with like some of the people I used to keep in touch with on the college side, especially at kind of like in circles of University of Washington, where Steve Belichick would presumably go with Bill to UNC. There was a feeling that this was real. And that he just wants to coach and he wants to bring it back to the essence of things. And this is a chance to do that at, I'm sure, a very high clip and well-compensated salary. So, yeah, I do think it's real. I just don't know if it's going to get to the finish line or not. These things are complicated. And look, there is still room for somebody from the NFL to contact him, and maybe that changes things.
There was a lot of speculation last year during the hiring process with Ben Johnson of why things didn't work out for him to become a head coach elsewhere. What did you hear through that process about Ben Johnson from other teams, and what you can confirm was true and just speculation, rumor?
I think certainly the interest from teams like Washington and Seattle was real. I do think him wanting to do this on his own terms and go back to Detroit and just wait for the perfect opportunity is real. I think him wanting to be selective is real. That's the word that goes around when you talk to people who are in the know in these sort of things. They just say Ben's going to be selective. And, so I think he's going to be strategic in what he wants. I do think there's a chance he's interested in Chicago, but again, you have to have the right setup. Does he feel like he'd be walking into a situation where the head coach is in sync with everybody there and well supported? I think those are questions he probably needs to get answered. I think if he takes an interview, it's going to be because he has an intention of being very serious about it. I don't think he's going to be doing 6 interviews, for instance. I think it could be more like 2 or 3, or maybe even 1 if he knows he has a good chance of getting one and he wants it. So, I always thought maybe he was waiting for like a big shark to open, like a job that we wouldn't expect. But it looks like that's not going to happen this year. So it'd have to be the right opportunity. And look, there are jobs like Jacksonville that for a low-key guy like him might be attractive because you can win in the AFC South. You do have a quarterback there with pedigree. I know though he struggled. And there's some talent there, and it's probably going to be a full sweep, head coach and GM. You can sort of pick your own guy.
I got 2 on Ben for you, Jeremy. 1, do you expect a bidding war there? I mean, maybe he only takes 1 interview, but like he knows that he's going to get big money, so you got to come correct that way. And 2, a lot of Bears fans are concerned, well, how will he be as a head coach? Can he be in the front of the room? Because the Bears clearly have not nailed that part of the equation recently. So what are your thoughts on those 2?
Well, to the second part, I don't think he's not like a Sean McVay personality, as far as I've gathered and things I've heard, and I haven't spent expensive time with him. I've met him and know him a little bit. He is engaging. I don't think he's awkward or anything like that, or how he's painted. Is he a big personality like a McVay or some of these coaches? Probably not. But neither is Andy Reid, and he's got it done. So there are a lot of different ways you can have success. He's known as incredibly bright. He's going to have a great game plan offensively. But I think he's going to be able to put players in position to succeed because he knows how to use them, which is key. And players really care about that more than they do a guy giving a great speech, So that's really the main thing, like, are you going to help me, my career, and help me make money at the next level and get a new contract? So those are some of the basics that I think he'll be fine handling. I'm sorry, I forget the first part of your question.
I'm just wondering, I mean, bidding war. Are the Bears going to, if they want Ben, are they going to have to pay $20+ million a year for him? I mean, what do you think the salary will be?
I think even though he will be coveted, I think that number is a little silly, probably. I mean, I just don't see it. That's an Andy Reid number right now. I think he's the only one at that mark. I don't see him coming out of the gate surpassing Andy Reid. And the guys that got close were well established: Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, as far as in recent cycles, And I don't know if I see it going that way. He'll certainly get a great contract, I'm sure, but owners they try to be pretty smart. I'm not going to say they're colluding on these things, but like if let's say Chicago hired him and put up a massive number that was crazy, the other owners would probably be looking at them sideways a little bit. That is a consideration, I think, for these teams. So, they can't cost control. That's not fair, but it is a market, and there's a give and take to it on both sides. So I would be surprised if there's a huge number. Now, a bidding war, possibly. A lot of times it's a situation where it's not necessarily a bidding war. It's, hey, I'm here in Chicago. You're going to offer me the job, but I'm getting on a plane tomorrow to go to this team that's going to hire me when I go. So that puts the pressure on the team where you're at to try to keep them in the building while they're on their second interview or whatever. So I could see that happening, certainly.
Before we let you go, there was a report yesterday that Ryan Poles may not be happy with Kevin Warren, like in that hierarchy and tug of war. Do you believe that there's any chance that there might be a change of mind with Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles wouldn't be the GM after this season ends?
I don't see that. No, I think Ryan is entrenched. I'm not aware of any hard rift. I can't, report on anything like that. You've heard whispers more about just the setup, right? Like, where's the influence going to be coming from? Is it coming from Warren? Is it coming from Poles? Like, who's going to be hands-on with the head coach? I think there are just open questions out there, but I can't say there's any rift. And I was told from somebody involved in the process that Kevin has done a good job of letting Ryan do his job, that he's not meddling day to day. So assuming that translates, then it should be all good. So I think it's a possibility it's overblown, but I don't know for sure in some of those things.
Jeremy, greatly appreciate your time and all the insight. Thanks for joining us here on the show again.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
See you at the Super Bowl, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, Jeremy,
appreciate you.
Yeah, we've had him on before. We'll probably see him again down the line here at the Super Bowl or at the Combine or something like that.
I'm sure I'll harass him once again on Super Bowl Radio Row. But no, he was really cool getting back to me during the holiday weekend and stuff. So being able to try to set this up was obviously he's at the owners' meetings right now. So, for him to carve out some time while he's doing his work and getting all that information it was greatly appreciated.
Got a lot more to talk about on some of those things that has what it has to do with the general manager and the president. But first, we take our first time out of the show, and ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient.
That's right. As
Rags did not know that.
I did know that, but if I didn't know that, you would tell me about it with ComEd. Wouldn't you, Adam?
I would, because the energy efficiency program can help find up to 35% in energy savings.
So what does a business have to do?
You just sign up for a free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
And so why aren't more businesses doing it?
Because they must have forgotten the website.
That's right. And I would never forget things. But if I did, it would be ComEd.com/biz is the website?
That's right. ComEd.com/biz. Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customer's energy usage and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law.
Shout out to our friends at Empire Today, where you get the shop-at-home convenience you are looking for. If you need flooring, don't think about anything else. Think about Empire Today. This is the best quality, the best service, the best speed. This is what you want. Now, look, they're coming to your house. They're going to sit with you. They're going to show you exactly how it's going to look right where you have your flooring. You don't have to, go to some store and meet some rando. This person, when Empire Today comes to your house, you're going to feel like you just have your best friend showing up here helping you do your flooring. They service their own warranties too. So if an issue does arise, you just call Empire. They do it themselves. They're not going to service you out. You're going to feel like you have a friend in Empire. They pride themselves on that convenient at-home service. Schedule yourself that free home estimate today. All listeners, you get a $350 discount when you use the promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/CHGO for details.
All right, a couple things to clarify. One, despite the incessant comments during that interview with Jeremy Fowler, no, Bill Belichick has not agreed to become the head coach at North Carolina, at least not yet.
Well, and I feel bad for the chat because, we're going to get into the report, but the report kind of was misleading in the way they phrased it. And so then you have aggregate accounts taking
Which is why I always tell you to just concentrate on the right sources of information. So here's a story from The Athletic. Part of the New York Times, which has also been out for the last 90 minutes. With people like Ralph Russo been covering college football.
A stroke.
Ralphie Russo has never been beaten on a story. Russo's on top of his
Brendan
game.
Marks and Diana Rossini.
She doesn't
well-sourced story here. Bill Belichick is considering an offer to become the next head coach at North Carolina. 4 people briefed on the situation told The Athletic on Tuesday a deal has not been agreed to and terms are still being negotiated, the sources said. While a deal may still come together quickly, sources cautioned that nothing is imminent and the sides remain apart on multiple key terms.
What about Ollie Golly Goo?
Well, Ollie Golly Goo, a.k.a. Ollie Connolly, made, the Twitter waves run rampant. He writes for The Guardian, and his reporting from Ollie Golly Goo was update, and this is where the phrasing was a bit off for him. Maybe intentional, maybe not, but he starts it by saying, Bill Belichick has agreed to become the next UNC head coach.
And that's why I'm calling him Ollie Golly Goo.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
But let's go on to the rest of the reporting because this is where the context is key. Belichick handed the school a 400-page, quote-unquote, organizational Bible with structure, payment plans, staffing choices, etc., decisions on whether to commit to UNC for the staff. He is expected to know their decision within 24 hours. He goes on to say, Belichick's Bible would require historic levels of investment from the school, including salary minimum for positions by position, and a willingness to hire 2 staffs, a coaching staff run by Belichick and a recruitment staff by a sitting college GM who would require a buyout. Okay. And then this is the thing that I found interesting. Belichick has a college and pro version of this updated manual and has shared it with other schools and NFL teams. But he drafted a new one specific to North Carolina that touched on every aspect of the program and school. Will need sign-off from AD, chancellor, trustees, and boosters. Then he finishes by saying, there has already been pushback from the group of 13 trustees with input from wider faculty. The investment would overhaul the school's approach to football. Belichick unsure if the school will meet the demands and is unwilling to negotiate.
I want to let it on the right. Okay, so what's your takeaway from all that?
My takeaway is you don't start your entire statement by saying Bill Belichick has agreed to become UNC's head coach.
Let's not get distracted in the minutia of all this.
Yeah, right.
The question is, if he's about to, even at the finish line of possible negotiations, whether he takes the job or not, where is Kevin Warren right now and what is he doing? That's what matters.
Right.
I don't care about Ollie Golly Goo or The Athletic or what's we have enough information here over the last week now that Bill Belichick is in serious talks with the University of North Carolina. And even if he's just doing it for a leverage play, fine. Be the leverage. Jump in there. Talk to. I go back to, I'm not sitting here saying the Bears definitely should be hiring Bill Belichick. What I am saying is if they hire a new coach without talking to Bill Belichick, blow up everything. Whatever this Bible is, I want to read it. I want that Bible emailed to me right now, and I want to read. I'm going to spend the rest of my Tuesday reading this thing and understanding where Bill Belichick is coming from. If for nothing else, that Bible should be printed out. Every page should be wallpapered to George McCaskey's office.
So,
because they need a change at Halas Hall. I'm not even talking about bodies. I'm talking about philosophy. What you have been doing from your hiring practices has not worked. So whatever Bill Belichick has in that Bible, the greatest head coach of all time, I want to know what it is.
1,000% with you, Adam Aurelius Hoge. The GOAT is out there.
What did you just call me?
You're an Aurelius deep down. I know.
Gladiator.
You're a gladiator. You're a champion. You're a leader. You're a dynamic individual. Look, you're right. Talk to Bill Belichick. Hey, dude, are you really going to Carolina? Why don't you just stop by Chicago for a minute? We got some sweet pizza and hot dogs, and we got a lakefront. I'm trying to get a stadium done there. You can see how much I'm messing that one up. Come down here and let's hang out and have a chat, because we're trying to be a world-class organization. I say it all the time. So I would like to talk to a world-class head coach. And that's what you are. So if you're not coming in here, we're not doing our job. We want to talk to you. Period. End of story.
No, it'd be organizational malpractice to not at least talk to him, to not at least look at his notes, to not even read through his pro version of this updated manual that he shared with other NFL teams. I mean,
look, but the bottom line, look, let's rewind back for a second. They kept Matt Eberflus and did not talk to him. That's what they did. So you made that decision last year.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. Are they going to repeat the same mistake?
Apparently so.
And then because the job's open now. like there was at least the excuse of we have our head coach last year. The job's open.
Right. And if you're considering Mike Vrabel, well, where did Mike Vrabel come from? You know, like you'd think that you'd want to talk to the coach that is part of the reason Mike Vrabel is Mike Vrabel.
Well, they can't talk to Vrabel right now. But
I'm not saying they can talk to Vrabel. I'm saying if you're, as Jeremy Fowler reported, like he might be somebody they're going to be interested in. Well, if that's somebody you might be interested in, wouldn't you want to be talking to the person that is part of the reason Mike Vrabel has become who he is?
There's a zillion reasons to talk to Bill Belichick.
There really only needs to be one.
Right.
He's the greatest head coach in NFL history.
You know what I learned watching the Manning cast last night? Bill Belichick pulled off the first 2-point conversion in NFL history.
Really? Wow.
The rule, I think it was 94. They showed it. The 2-point conversion didn't exist before that. They lined up for the extra point and faked it. They just snapped it to the holder, and it was an audible based on which side the opponent lined up. They overloaded to the right, so he just ran it to the left. 2-point conversion.
And so when you watch him on Manning,
that's when he was the head coach.
Right.
Of the
So
Browns.
when you watch him on Manningcast or Pat McAfee, he does a weekly hit with them now. He was on yesterday with them. You know, this narrative that, you know, he's like Tony La Russa, he's too far gone because he's 72 years old. Like, I don't see that in these interviews he's doing. And if anything,
he's dating a 24-year-old. He's not falling asleep in the dugout.
Right. And beyond who he's dating, I just feel like
he could be exhausted. Let's be real.
Even beyond who he's dating,
he has 700
Will you shut up and listen?
No.
Even beyond who he's dating, do you think, like, watching him in this media landscape with guys like Pat McAfee, that he is somewhat evolving? Because he's always been pretty rigid with the media.
No.
But it does feel like he's somewhat evolving to, like, what new media is all about. Because Pat was trying to really hold his feet to the fire if he's agreed to the UNC job. And he didn't, like, do the curmudgeon, you know, typical jerk response that Belichick would give a guy. Like, he had fun with it.
Well, that's because he's on the Pat McAfee. I don't think that dude's not changing his stripes. But this is what annoys me actually about media. Dudes like that make a living being the most boring guy of all time. Won't say anything. The second they become available, okay, will you please come work for us? No, you disqualified yourself. You didn't say anything every other week, but we all want to hear from him, so we hire him. I hate that we did that. I hate that we do it. I don't
think Bill Belichick's the right example of that, though. And I've been on this crusade for basically a decade now. This is the byproduct of a guy getting a reputation that's not completely right. If you actually were to sit and watch every single one of Bill Belichick's press conferences, he answers the questions that he can answer, and he usually gives really detailed answers. He's never just been an asshole about it. But if you're going to ask him if the number 3 wide receiver is playing on Sunday, he's not going to tell you that.
Listen, I've been to 7,000 Super Bowls with the guy, and you're not wrong. He will give you a detailed answer on things he finds interesting.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things he doesn't find interesting.
Right, but the stuff he's being asked for on these shows to talk about is the interesting stuff. He's not protecting his own house because he's allowed to sit there and tell you what's going on with the bet. It's been really insightful. I encourage you to listen to it.
Hire Belichick. I'm down. Go ahead, please. That would be amazing for us.
All right, we got a little bit more conversation coming up on.
I'll take Mike Vrabel too
on some Bear stuff, and we might pivot here a little bit because I got ODK, but we might put that on hold here just for a second so we can finish this conversation. But first. Verilife cannabis stores are your top destination for the best product selection, featuring all your favorite brands at unbeatable prices. Some of their incredible brands include the award-winning lineup of Matter products. Matter offers a curated line of premium flower strains and infused gummies crafted to deliver consistent quality and distinctive effects for every preference. Game for something new, P3 offers a variety of infused joints and infused blunts for the solo challenge or a group session, made with unique combinations of cannabis, distillate, and botanical terpenes. Hope I'm saying that right.
Listen, yes, get to the good part. Go to the store, hit it up. What do we got? CHGO 25. We're giving you 25% off. You go in there. They're all over Illinois. This is amazing. Go do it. River North. That's a great spot to go. How about if you're out in Galena? Oh, you love a Galena.
I've never been to Galena.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Galena's a great spot. Schaumburg, Romeoville, Ottawa, Arlington Heights, Rosemont, North Aurora. Get involved. CHGO 25. It's amazing. Verilife's sweet.
But you can also place your order online and still redeem that code CHGO25 at pickup to receive the discount. Again, CHGO25 in store. And receive 25% off one of these amazing products today. Restrictions apply.
Verilife.com. Shout out to our friends at Game Time Tickets. You know it. You love it. You want the best value in the secondary marketplace. Game Time Picks will do it for you. They're focused on togetherness this holiday season. We need a little bit of that on this show. That means we're going to bring people together. Gregory. We're going to go to live events. We're going to experience it in just a better way with Game Time. Their new feature called Game Time Picks, of course, makes it easier than ever to get tickets for those live events. They filter out the fluff. They give you the incredible deals. You get to see right where your seats are. It is sweet. It is easy. It is perfect. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO. $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account. Use that redeem code CHGO. $20 off. Game Time. Download it. Do it today. What time is it?
Game time.
You're up, Hoge.
Oh, I am?
Well,
okay, I was going to ask you guys to pick your adventure. A little pick your adventure game here.
Oh, great. Let's go.
Would you like to go straight to the ODK or talk a little bit about Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren?
I'll defer to Gregory. I don't have a strong opinion on that.
Let's do the Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren thing. You know, we've gone through the insider stuff from Fowler. We talked about Belichick. So, you know, I think this is a good order of operations.
So, our guy Mark Silverman yesterday on the radio, this was making the rounds on the Twitter X machine.
Hashtag Sylvie does a great job.
He reported on his swing.
No, he was at the Midtown Athletic Club.
He goes,
That's where I see him.
Gets on a swing after every game.
You haven't seen the Twitter swing?
I didn't know he went to Midtown.
He does.
Do you know about the swing?
Yeah,
yes,
I know about the swing.
Everybody knows about the swing.
Well, then don't go, huh? When I say he was on the swing. Because then that led me to believe you don't
happened.
Know. That is what he did.
That's not what I did. But
not
if I
him.
I don't know. We have to check the tape on that. If I did, it was directly the car.
I got to tell you something, everybody. Braggs is on something today that's a little bit different than the standard day. It took a little bit more of
like a drug. Like,
yeah,
where are you going?
There's a little something extra in his Dr. Pepper Zero's Pepsi today. Something's going on.
Maybe that's what it is. I haven't had a sip of any diet pop today.
Yeah. All right, back to you, Ho. Go ahead.
Anyway, there was a pretty strong report from Sylvie, information he got that that basically how do I want to sum this up? The dynamic of Ryan Poles, basically Poles getting hired to report directly to George McCaskey was a big reason why he took the job. And that he's not thrilled with the fact that Kevin Warren, once he was hired, the structure changed. And I think he went as far as to say, right, that Poles would not have taken this job if it had been that way.
Yeah, he doesn't like the situation right now.
Now, Carm's guy, the Sears Tower, shot it down.
Tower said it's not true.
So
Tower is, for those people who don't know the Tower, learn the Tower. Tower's got an egg for an avatar on Twitter, and he's got a lot of information. Nobody knows who the Tower is, but I believe in the Tower. And he said this is not true.
So here we are in this world of
what's true,
a
what's
fake tower versus a radio informational report. Look, here's what I'll say on this. I have, since the moment it happened, thought it was a little bit of a red flag and concerning that you hired your general manager under one structure and then changed that a year later. But didn't find it surprising because, as we know, with the backwards Bears, they do everything backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I did wonder, and they seem to be pretty tight-lipped about this from the beginning. Like, by the way, it was not a secret when they went through this last coaching GM search that Ted Phillips was nearing retirement. Which, again, maybe you should hire the new team president then before you go hire the GM and the head coach. But okay, whatever. You do you, Chicago. Ryan Poles from the very beginning, because I was there among the reporters talking to him outside the auditorium at Halas Hall the day they introduced Kevin Warren, and he did a good job of saying that he wasn't worried about it, that he hit it off with Kevin Warren. And getting back to what Jeremy Fowler was just telling us, I think that's all true. Like, is it human nature to be a little uneasy about the fact that they just hired a new boss for me? Yeah, that would be a little weird. But if he got to talk to Kevin Warren in the process, they hit it off. Up until now, I do think I agree with what Jeremy said, that Kevin Warren has allowed Ryan Poles to do his job with the roster. Kevin Warren has been more concerned with the business side of things and making those hires and making some of the changes he's made towards the top of Halas Hall on the business side of the world, and concentrating on the stadium, which has gone nowhere. But that's what he's been doing.
Right.
And so, but that can all be true and now be changing, because let's face it, this has been a horrible season.
Yeah.
Everything has fallen apart. It's been very concerning. And if you were, like, let's take the names out of it. Like, if you were the guy that were like, I'm going to trust this guy. He believes in this head coach. We're going to stick with the status quo before we make the most important draft pick we've ever made. Number 1 overall, and oh, by the way, another one 8 picks later. And then that went terribly wrong to the point that you had to fire the head coach in the middle of the season for the first time in the franchise's history. To me, it's logically possible that these guys have had a great working relationship. But Kevin Warren, who we also known as, a pretty strong personality and has big ideas, might be wielding some of the power that he was given when George McCaskey hired him and said, the GM now reports to you. Or that's where I think we're at.
Yeah, or let's look at the whole picture too. Or it could be he's just annoyed with the McCaskies. There were reports out there that Ryan Poles wanted to move on from Matt Eberflus after the New England game and was told he couldn't do it. That might be on top of Kevin. The Bears would go to buy a car, and they would buy the wheels first, and then they'd buy the doors, and then they'd drive out of there and wonder why the thing doesn't have an engine. Like it's unbelievable when you consider their process. How do you hire the GM before you know that you're hiring a president? Why the hell wouldn't you hire the damn president and let him hire the GM? It's the equivalent of buying tires before you buy the car. I don't get it. Let me get these tires over here. So in 40,000 miles, we might need them. What? Hello? And then I just dude, if I'm Ryan Poles, who's this guy? What? And now we have this horrible season. I want to fire my coach. These guys over here don't let me. This guy, when we have the press conference, he's doing all the talking. So I'm just going to sit here, mute, and look like a 10-year-old. And then when somebody asks me about Shane Waldron, I'm not even going to be able to think because I'm so angry at the whole organization.
Right.
If Ryan Poles is having second thoughts about working for the Bears right now when he had other options, Minnesota, back in the day, I would understand it.
Right. Like, I'm not getting the hot sauce first before I get my Taco Bell.
Yeah, even you know that.
You get the Taco Bell first.
Thank you.
Then you know how much hot sauce you need in the bag. Because there's nothing I hate worse than when I order a bunch of Taco Bell and they give me like 3 packets of hot sauce. Like, put some more hot sauce in the bag.
Nobody brings it home like this guy. That is so incredibly true.
Thank you. I thought
Give me
you
the
did.
hot sauce.
I thought you were very eloquent with your comparison too. I thought I'd add on just to give context so people understand exactly what was said. Shout out to our guy Brendan Shagru from the Bears Wire. He did a nice write up on this, and Sylvie shared on air from someone quote unquote with firsthand knowledge. This is the quote directly from Sylvie on the air yesterday on ESPN 1000. One of the main reasons that Ryan Poles took the Bears job was because he liked the direct reporting nature to the team owner. It was very appetizing to him as a general manager to report directly to ownership. There was no buffer. If he had an issue, he could go right to George McCaskey, right to ownership. When Kevin Warren was hired, he was frustrated with that from the start, that he never loved it. It was not a personal thing with Kevin, but it was something he didn't like, that he went from reporting to the owner to now having to report to a team president who reports to the owner. And he was very vocal about that to people he trusted inside the building, and that maybe he would never have taken the job to begin with.
Well, let me just say one thing.
The only part I push back on it all is maybe that last part.
See, I would push back by the first part. Go, what's your?
You don't think that's entirely plausible? Like,
I just don't understand anybody who would really want to report to George McCaskey. Like, oh, this is such a sweet.
Well,
setup.
look at how when he first came in here, how he got Halas Hall, the facilities upgraded. So he saw an issue with Halas Hall, and Ryan Poles was directly credited with the upgrades there. So he was able to go to George McCaskey and say,
I thought you were thinking of Pace.
Was that Pace?
Yeah, Pace.
Okay, I apologize.
You don't have to apologize.
No, I do.
Yeah, apologize.
I do.
Yeah,
I apologize.
Yeah.
And
all these GMs are starting to mold together. My brain is melted.
Well, and the thing, like, my contention, like, does he really want to report to George? Maybe he wanted to do that because he just thought George would leave him alone. That's the only scenario that I can see. You know,
here's what I think matters is when he's interviewing for that job, what was communicated? And I don't know the answers to these questions. I've never been able to really find it out. But did Ryan Poles know Ted Phillips was going to retire? That seems plausible because they changed the structure. And then if that's the case, did George McCaskey say, hey, but obviously that means we're hiring a new team president
who you'll report to? Yeah.
And then do they tell him up front, hey, this structure is going to change in a year? And even if that's the case, Poles has to consider that because he doesn't know who they're going to hire. He doesn't know in that moment that Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten, of all people, is going to end up being his boss.
Right, but I think he probably was told, or I would guess that he was told, or I would have wanted to have been told if I was him that, yeah, we're going to hire a team president, but you are in charge of the football. And Kevin wants to be.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So regardless of the politics of how that all played out, the reality of what we saw at that press conference a week ago, things have changed, man. And this is what I keep coming back to. Maybe they should.
Okay.
You know, I think there's a lack of trust here on Kevin Warren for a lot of different reasons, specifically how some of these stadium things have been handled and the wacky press conferences and all that, and I get it. But, you know, you did want Ted Phillips out of here. You did, I did, pretty much everybody did.
I definitely did.
Except for George and the Bears blog. But everyone else did. So,
wow.
So this is what you got, right? This is what you got.
Don't mess with Jeff Hughes. That's my guy.
Best. Was that not accurate?
Well, we'll never know exactly, you know, who Jeff's sources are. So it
that's not even where I was going with that. I'm just going with his takes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does defend Ted.
Regardless, you asked for a new president. Here he is. He's Kevin Warren. Now is everybody apprehensive to let him go to work?
Well, and the thing is that it just surprises me if that is actually the case, because every time I see Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles interacting, it seems like they get along really well. That's the
except for that press conference.
Except for the press conference on Monday. That was the first time where it seemed like Brian Poles didn't want to be in the same room.
But that's the most recent eveness.
Of course, 100%. But like,
we used to like each other, and then things changed.
I actually never liked you. The first day I laid eyes on you, I was like, "This."
I agree. I didn't like you either. But
It was hate at first sight.
But then, like, I warmed up after a period of time, and then went the other way. But okay, keep going. Good point.
Oh man, so yeah, it is. So it is interesting to watch this dynamic. And I think that's why it's like, for me with Kevin Warren, for whatever reason, and maybe it's unfounded, but it's like he's the one guy for me that's giving me hope, because for how Kevin Warren operates, he operates on a business standpoint. And what Ryan Poles has shown, through the Ogunjobi thing, where he said he's in the car on the phone with him crying when they couldn't get it worked out through medicals, or when he's trying to cut Adrian Colbert and he's getting emotional on Hard Knocks. And, having trouble, cutting ties with things or making those tough decisions, I think he lives a lot more off emotion. When they showed the 1920 football drive, during the draft process, and he's like itching and clawing to trade up for Roma Dunze, who ends up falling to him anyway. Like, I think Ryan Poles does live off a lot more emotion versus Kevin Warren, who's a little more strict in what he believes a business model should be. Now, does that mean he's going to 100% get this right and put this organization in the right direction? It doesn't guarantee it, but I think somebody with a cleaner business sense and a direct vision of what his goals are is going to make the hard line decisions that aren't always the easiest. And for whatever reason, that leaves me to look at Kevin Warren as the only hope as a fan that hopes that they can get this right.
I like that you still have optimism about it.
Well, it's not even optimism. It's like, I feel like it's the hope. Only hope.
He's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, he's not Obi-Wan. Like, we're holding on. This is like the door floating outside the Titanic. Is this door gonna save my life?
That door.
Well, hold on one second here. Let's just.
I would not have let Carman on the door, for the record. He would have drowned.
Thank you. At least you're honest. Okay, so
would Jenny let you on the door, though, is the point.
She would have let me drown.
Okay. So Rose and Jenny are the same.
Yeah, but Jenny was making the right decision. In Rose's case, that was dead wrong, and she should have made room. But regardless
That's
of that.
not even the worst thing she did in that movie.
What's the worst thing she did?
She had the freaking jewel the whole time.
Yeah.
And then she just chucks it in the ocean. She didn't want to help her new family with that. She knows they're looking for this thing. She doesn't say anything. She's a horrible person.
Yeah, I'm still gonna go. Just need to make room on that door. So
she killed a guy first. But then the rest of her life, she had this jewel and she didn't do anything with it. And then she just chucked it in the ocean.
For all the Jacks out there, we feel the pain every day. But look. So let's just.
I still have ODK, by the way.
I understand. Let me just, for 1 second.
I'm ready to go.
Put yourself in George McCaskey's seat.
Please don't make me do that.
And granted, he probably doesn't know what's going on, and he's just hanging out. But in case he does, you got this guy in here. You gave him the keys to the organization. He was supposed to get the stadium done. That ain't happening. You've got your general manager who looks like he is in a Southwest Airlines commercial. You have no idea who your next head coach is going to be. You got your interim guy who shows up, supposed to change things. I would regret even paying for the flight to go out to San Francisco. And at what point, I'm just trying to figure out how this ends. Is Kevin here for life no matter what? I think everyone thinks that Kevin wants to be the commissioner of the NFL. That's his end game. So does Kevin, I guess the perfect scenario would be you get it turned around, you get the stadium, the Bears win the Super Bowl, Kevin leaves, he's the commissioner. That's like the perfect path. But what's the likely path here? If you had to bet how this ends with Kevin Warren and the Bears, what's your guess? That's
not with a Super Bowl. Hopefully with a stadium.
Stadium, no.
If it ends with no stadium,
no Super Bowl, and
he won't leave before the stadium is at least on its way.
Okay. So he has it on its way, and you have some bad stadium deal, and he goes out the door and he becomes the commissioner of the Horizon League. Is that what's coming? Like, what is going to happen here? At any rate,
I'm terrified. That's for sure.
Like we're not. I mean, I'm sure it'll turn left here, and we'll just start heading in the right direction again here. But right now, it's like if this keeps going this way, what is the ending here?
I remember thinking that, and I don't know.
George McCaskey is the guy on the Titanic that's like, this ship can't sink. They're like, no, it definitely can. It is going to.
4 compartments, George. 4 compartments. It's a mathematical certainty.
Titanic analogies are pretty good. All right. Well,
Kevin Warren is playing the violin.
And he's going to be the one jumping on the lifeboat. That'd be the same guy. Right. Maybe they'll be on different lifeboats. All right.
I don't know what Carman said either, Chad, for that whole time. But all right, we're going to have to push ODK again. You know what? Let's not even do it today.
Whoa. Yeah. Can't leave without an ODK on
I'm
a Tuesday.
I refuse to leave.
Oh, we got Nick standing by, though. Oh, I forgot Nick's at home. He could have waited. I was thinking he was at a house.
Yeah. Do your ODK.
No. Nick's here. We'll talk to you first. I want to know what the players. I have no idea what the players had to say today.
What do you want, Nick?
Well, I mean, people are talking about the Titanic. I'm bringing the vibes. Like I brought this from Levi Stadium, Nutella on the go. These were fire, by the way. Everybody had one of these at their respective spots. I took like 5 of these because nobody wanted them. So got this to go.
I think you just admitted to a crime.
Nick is a thief.
How many did you take?
4.
That's a good job.
Where's sales guy? Where's sales guy Jim? Get Nutella on the line.
We got a young Grobber on our
Grobber would have had 10, but
he'll work. Nick will work his way up there. He's still young.
Shout out, Nick. Good job.
Yeah,
you got 1 for each of us. It's very nice of him.
All right. So who do we hear from today, and what do they have to say? And if one of them was Cole, don't tell us what he said because he's got a show tonight at 7, and everybody has to wait.
One of them was Cole, so we'll stick with Jonathan Owens, who was the defensive representative for today. I asked him right off the bat, like, what did the 49ers do to basically gash this entire defense? And he said what he mentioned was pre-snap movement was a big thing that the 49ers obviously do second in the league with pre-snap movement, but he said it messes with the defense's eyes. And with Brock Purdy, he was holding the ball for a while and did that to identify the coverage that the defense was in, but mentioned it came down to keyword executing, you guys. So it came down to execution as to, the reasons why this defense couldn't, stop anybody on the 49ers last Sunday. He was also asked about the new play caller being Eric Washington, and will it take a while for this defense to get used to? Obviously, you got 4 games left, but he said no, we just have to make sure everyone's doing their job first and foremost. But there was some miscommunication that Thomas Brown mentioned was happening not only in the offense but the defensive side. And Jonathan was asked if that's due to the new play caller or just due to, again, Shanahan's offense. And Jonathan said straight up, it had nothing to do with Eric Washington. The defense has been with each other since the spring, but it comes down to communicating and executing. So, and then he went back and talking about the pre-snap motion again, catching guys' eyes. And if you're lacking for 1 second, boom, there's a gap that you should have been in, but you're too busy watching the eye candy in the backfield. And then the last question that we ended the press conference with, I asked Jonathan about this team culture in the locker room, if it's enough right now to withstand the current losing streak that the Bears are in, obviously 7 games. And he said that everybody's really close in this locker room. They're all out there playing for their brothers, he said, and couldn't see himself not playing hard when leaders and vets, and he mentioned Kevin Byard, are out there, doing the most that they can. But so there's too much love in this locker room for these guys to just give up, and knowing that there's still 4 games left. But that's what Jonathan Owens had to say. And obviously Cole Kmet was the other representative today.
I'm assuming no one asked Jonathan about the celebration at the end of the game that drew some ire from fans.
No, nobody did. And, Mark and I were texting during the game when that happened. It was almost like he was hesitating to go out there. And then, the defensive players were also hesitating to go, celebrate this meaningless interception. And it was a weird look. You're doing this when you're down by however many points it was at that point, and it's against the backup quarterback too as well. But yeah, nobody asked him about the interception there, Greg.
I forgot about the backup quarterback.
So close to a Lamar Houston moment there.
Oof.
Do you imagine? Then this would be the 2014
He's looking
season
back
all
to
over
see if
again.
anybody's coming with him, and then he just accidentally cracks into someone or whatever happens. All right, bear down.
Yeah.
So wait, I'm sorry, Nick. I might have missed this while you were talking. I was sitting right here, but Owens, Komet, and who else?
That's
Owens
it.
and
That's
Komet.
it.
That's it.
Okay.
Just Owens and Komet. You know what? I will share one quick thing on Komet if I can, because he was asked
I'm
about
just
like the
kidding.
mindset.
But
Oh, mindset
I
for the
think-
players, guys. He was asked about the mindset of the players on the 7-game losing streak, and he shared a cool story that he had with just a conversation that he had with his dad on the perspective of this. He said his dad told Cole, like, it's like, as dark as this might seem in the moment right now, you've got to have perspective as to what you get to do. He was saying he'd give anything to go back and just play one more game, to be in the shape that I'm in right now, and to go out and play football. I think that's the kind of perspective that I want to have going forward for these last 4 games, and just enjoying being out there with the guys, put some really good stuff out on tape, and just enjoy each other's company while we go do it. So I think at this point, with how the season's going, like, it's a positive mindset to have, because Cole Kmet has obviously been a part of a lot of losing streaks since he's been drafted by the Bears, and this is just the latest one. So he's going to keep that perspective, and knowing that he has a good support team in his family there, can help him hopefully end out the season on the right way.
Cole's dad's awesome, and that was Belichickian right there. Because when I interviewed Byron Cowart this year, who played for the Patriots, I asked him what was it like playing for Belichick. He's like, he just told me that his main message was, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. No light. You just keep going. You have no idea if you're ever going to get to that.
That's how I feel covering this team.
Right, that you'll ever get out of it. Just keep going. There's ain't no sunshine coming along here necessarily. You just keep going and going and going. That's hey, at least you get to keep going, basically. So Belichick, Cole's dad, there it is. Cowart. Bring it all together. I think he'll make a play one of these days. If he needs to keep going.
Yeah.
My guy. I like it.
You guys,
Carm's rants are no light at the end of the tunnel. They just keep going and going and going.
It sounds like that's pretty much everything we needed to know. I wanted to, since Nick's on here right now, do you guys understand that the Bears right now are under the curse? No, I want you guys to listen to this. Stop fooling around.
He's got hair on
Children.
his mic. It's driving me crazy. I am listening.
Okay.
So keep talking.
The Bears are under the curse of Brandon Spano right now.
Oh, my God.
Whoa.
Going at the CEO.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Because I think there's a couple different ways we can go here, but one of them is the Bears have not won a game since that man invaded our post-game show in London and basically declared them the next Kansas City Chiefs.
Facts.
Oh, God.
Facts.
They were cursed right there.
I mean, I'd just like to thank Brandon Spano and everybody else around here. Like, we've had such a great year. We got to go to London. We got to go to Arizona. It feels like we're never going to be allowed to go anywhere ever again with what's happened to this team.
Why would that be?
Because they're killing us. We need to just this is horrible. Get back to winning games right now for me and for Hoge. And
Get back to it. It was 3 weeks in the last decade.
Listen, there was so much. It was so
That was
much fun.
2018.
Real quickly, speaking of curses, I leaving the stadium, drove back with Courtney Cronin and Kevin Fishbane, and Kevin just out of nowhere, he's like, CHGO cursed the Bears. I'm like, whoa, Kevin. He's like, well, since they got it, since we came to be a company, what's the record of the Bears right now? But then he kind of backtracks, like, well, I think everybody has their own curses. Imagine, or go back to when Kevin started covering the team.
Exactly.
Adam, when you started covering the team, I think we're all are we all cursed or are we all not cursed? I didn't know how to look at it, but I'm like, all right, Kevin, I see how it is.
Yeah, that's a stretch by the fish man. He knows better. He's been covering the team long enough to know that he's the reason why they suck.
I'll never, ever say anything bad about Kevin Fishbane, one of the great, great people in the history of the planet, and a wonderful Northwestern fan.
That's the other point, is he's a Northwestern fan and they suck.
That's a good point.
Just beat Illinois. Settle down.
Well, Illinois sucks too.
I hope so, because Wisconsin plays Illinois tonight. All right, we got
to Die Hard. Do it now as we close out the hour. Thank you.
Go to allchgo.com/diehard when you sign up. You can watch the rest of this show on YouTube if you dare.
You weren't supposed to say that part.
But I did. So what are you going to do about it?
Nick, what do you got for the diehards?
What was that?
Don't yell at Greg tomorrow, not me.
We've been so on point. We're allowed what just happened, in my mind.
Yes, I am allowed.
I hope people are still watching for my film breakdown, Nick.
They're watching. They love your film
They have
breakdown.
to watch. I love the film breakdown. I mean, that's definitely something that will, regardless of how these games go, we're going to find some tape that we can break down. I'll break down with the players in the locker room this week. But yeah, you have to just become a diehard to see what else could be under the exclusive content that the diehards get. But we appreciate everyone that's already a diehard, and they can attest to all the great work that's being done by not only me but everybody else in the company. So check it out. I think the first day I'll be in the locker room is, if I'm not mistaken, Thursday. So you have to wait one day later than usual for the film breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick and I are doing a special show on Friday. We have a Friday program. What?
Okay. That needs to be promoted right now?
Well, I just think it's
it came to Carm's head, so he has to say it. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened.
You really have a lot of legs to stand on that one.
I actually have 2 bad legs that I stand on every day.
It didn't have to be promoted now, but I mentioned it. 5 o'clock on Friday, we're having a happy hour. Me and Nick together.
Put it down in your calendar right now. 5 p.m.
with Lawrence
Friday.
Benedetto producing it, damn it. So be there.
Maybe I will.
It'll be fun.
All right. Thanks, Nick.
All right, you guys.
Nick's going to have a tele-sponsorship by Thursday.
You better bring one of those to practice on Friday when we hang out together and get ready for the show. All right, Hoge.
Always angling. All right, we're going to talk ODK now. We're going to talk a little bit about, from what I could tell, happened in this game, which from the very start, I think we could tell the Bears were a little outclassed in, let's call it just the play calling. Okay, overall on both sides of the ball, it seemed like. So this is the Bears' second play of the game, and this is just a run to the right, guys. Okay, outside zone. Now let's look at the formation. They're in 12 personnel with Cole Kmet nubbed out there, which means there's no wide receiver to that side. Which why that matters is because you have to block this corner. Okay, and typically your tight end is going to work on this end first and then climb to the backer, okay? So Bears put receiver in motion to take care of the corner. That all makes sense. It should be blocked up from this standpoint to run to the right. What the 49ers do here, though, that's super interesting to me watching this, is these two guys just switch spots. So the corner now went to the inside while the backer climbed to the outside. And I'm pretty sure that this is why the Bears end up with someone unblocked here to stop this run. Because essentially, if Cole's job is to get out to this backer and this corner just went back to the inside, as Colin Johnson's coming around here to the outside, first he's bluffing a wheel route to begin with, and then he's going to block. Well, he can't get all the way now to this corner on the inside. Does that all make sense?
Yep.
So that little switch between these two 49ers here, I think, is what causes the confusion on this play. And now, instead, you got Colin Johnson blocking this linebacker, which was supposed to be the corner, and the corner is going in to tackle DeAndre Swift here. Now, could theoretically Cole Kmet make a instinctual decision to be like, oh, they switched, I need to go block this guy? Yeah, it's easy to say that on film, but if that's not what their rules are, and if that's not something they saw on tape all week, that's hard to do in a split second. So credit to the 49ers defense, because it seems like, to me, this is almost like they knew what was coming, and they're like, we're just going to switch these two players and cause the confusion and make the stop, which they do. Bears got two guys down here on the linebacker. tackle is being made on DeAndre Swift. So that's the offensive side, an example early on in this game where it's second down. Do you think you're going to – Thomas Brown's trying to run the ball, establish the run early. I like that, but this little switcheroo the 49ers pull stops that, drive ends, and – the offense, they don't get the ball back for like another 10 minutes, it seemed like.
So would you call that execution or would you call that coaching?
I wouldn't even call it bad coaching or bad execution. I would call it the other team beat you. The other team outclassed you and came up with a solution, which is people sometimes forget in football.
They get paid too?
One team's going to be successful on every play and the other's not. Right. And there's an answer on every single play for this, but why I'm showing this is early on in the game, and this type of stuff continued throughout the game. Let's go to the defensive side now, okay? Now, this is where I think there was a combination of players not executing and also Kyle Shanahan outclassing Eric Washington. So the first thing I see here in this situation is that the 49ers are in 21 personnel with Kyle Juszczyk out there. Okay, he's to the bottom of the screen here, which means you only have 2 wide receivers, right? One's here, one's here.
2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, 1 back for those who don't understand 21.
Two running backs, 1 tight end, 2 wide receivers.
2 running backs.
Yes, because you have a running back here.
Oh,
and
okay.
Kyle Juszczyk.
I see. My bad.
It doesn't really matter. Juszczyk is versatile enough, but regardless,
either way,
the point is there's 2 wide receivers, which means you don't need to be in nickel. But the Bears are in nickel. So this is a situation where you could go to base defense. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that it's the worst thing that they're not, but if you're trying to draw up this play, which turns out to be a screen to George Kittle, this is what you would call made to order. Because the Bears are in, not only are they in their nickel defense, but there's 1 wide receiver out here, and there are 3 Bears over here on 1 wide receiver. Okay, so do you think one of these guys is blitzing? That's a pretty good tell that you probably are bringing some pressure from out here. And regardless, the 49ers have the answer anyway. So indeed, Kyler Gordon comes. And shout out to Isaac Guerrero, who's a rookie, and sometimes rookies would not figure this out fast enough, but he bails on the play action, which he's supposed to go, and he just immediately goes to block the blitzer. And Bears fans that have paid attention the last couple of years know that the Bears haven't always been the team that has been smart enough to do that. And
Caleb would be dead.
Justin Fields or Caleb Williams would just be getting sacked on what could be a wide open screen. So the back makes the block. Good for him. And meanwhile, because the Bears had, in my opinion, not the greatest personnel on the field and too many guys to the top of the screen, well, this thing is set up perfectly for the ball to be dumped off to George Kittle. And, oh, my God, it's a 2-on-1 on the one guy who can pretty much make the play here. And it's a race between this backer and if Tyreek Stevenson, who is being run off by the wide receiver here, he's got to wake up, turn around. Oh, no, Jonathan Owens, he has to turn around. I mean, this thing was just made to order, and, of course, goes all the way down the field. Here's George Kittle slowing down. There was a possible block in the back they could have called here. I think it was a legal hit by. Regardless, I think this was an example. This specific play was an example of the other team had a better call than you did. The play right before that, where I think it was Juszczyk who came across the formation and none of the linebackers went with him, that I would put on the execution. But the problem was it was like every single play in the first quarter, it was one or the other. And before you knew it, the game was over.
That was the first drive.
That's right. Both of these plays are super early in the game.
And before you knew it, the game was over.
That was the first drive of that play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Forgot about that. Okay. I mean, I know that they had 3 plays right to the end zone. What's going on, Steven? Nothing? Okay, we're good?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. That's it.
It's a great job. Listen, Hoge's ODK.
You don't get any kicking this week.
Yeah. The ODK stands for offense, defense, and kicking. For those of you who don't know that, I had to learn that on the show a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm showing that I've digested that information and giving it back
Look
to
at
you.
I thought ODK stood for Old Dirty Cram.
Another great joke by Greg Braggs, ladies and gentlemen. This guy should have, stand-up is in your future. I see you at the Chicago Theater come 2027. All right.
I think that's it.
That's it, unless there's any
there's
random thoughts that came to your brain.
There are a
you'd like
couple.
to share?
There's a couple one random serious thought. Ryan Sandberg, you're the greatest. Shout out to Rhino.
Sure.
And of course, all of his fans. I put out an update today on Instagram to my Chicago Cubs National Baseball Hall of Fame in the city of Chicago. And all my loyal fans, I want to share an update on my prostate cancer. Unfortunately, recently learned the cancer has relapsed and has spread to other organs. That means I'm back for more intensive treatment. We will continue to be positive, strong, and fight to beat this. Thank you for your thoughts and prayers for me and my family. If you're on Instagram or whatever, Rhino's on there, Ryan Sandberg 23, seems to read it. And, people in those type of fights, just to support him. Rhino was the greatest as a player, but I got to interview him working at Fansided back in the day. We go to his house, right? And he's got I guess I won't say where his house is, whatever.
Why don't you give the address?
Beautiful home. Great little baseball situation in the front of the yard. We do the interview in his garage, which he has set up. He has a bar in there. We sit down. We're having a 30-minute interview, drinking a little whiskey, which I think was the sponsor of the whole thing. And he was it couldn't have been nicer, right? So we get done, and we're going, back to our cars. And he's like, "Where you guys going? You want to come inside?" Did not have to do that at all. So he invites us in, and we go downstairs into his basement, the Ryan Sandberg Hall of Fame room, and all his jerseys, 9 gold gloves, letter from Harry Carey, which was super cool. And Harry was Rhino, I don't come in the clubhouse because I got to be objective, but I just want to let you know that the way you conduct yourself is so first class and such a benefit to the Cubs organization. It was early in his career. He wrote it to him 86. He had a signed letter from Harry that he kept. It was really cool. Anyway, Rhino is a first class dude, and rooting obviously for a quick recovery here. So I wanted to mention 100%. That.
Harry didn't feel like he could go in the locker room?
Well, he wanted, because if you become friends with him, then, I don't know. I get it. Jay Grizz, also Rhino Dunson was a thing of beauty, is exactly right. Now, on a lesser note, but and not nearly as important, but Hoge, have you seen the news today that is out there?
If you had already done the super chats, I would give you permission.
I say
Steven to just end the show.
Just a normal, a smarter order of operations probably would have been to do the goofy thing first, then the serious note to end.
No, I want people to be.
But you just got everybody on a string. You mess with them, then you pull them back with some serious stuff, and now you're gonna come back with some crazy talk.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, of course.
By the way,
what am I talking about?
Cancer sucks. First of all, let me be serious for a second. My mom would have been 71 today. She only made it to 56. So just a reminder that cancer sucks, and be nice to your mothers, Greg.
My mom's in the chat right now talking about Nutella baking with Nick.
But for those of you that don't have your mothers, Carman, I definitely feel for you and will continue to yell at Greg on how he treats his mother.
Yeah. Treat my mother great.
No, you do.
Exactly how she deserves.
Jesus.
Yeah.
She's texting me earlier today and last night about these 2 random people, and I didn't respond because I was doing the show last night, and I'm super busy. I'm too busy to respond to my mom. And then she's yelling at me this morning about it, and then she's still asking me about these people. I'm like, Mom, I don't. Quit texting me.
Wasn't it a second ago that you were you take people on a string and do weird things? He's having a serious talk about his mom who passed away. And
then he made fun of how I treat my mom. So he did the whole thing.
No,
remember that?
Right. No, it's always, you're right. It's definitely Hoge's fault.
Thank you.
All right, what's your stupid news?
Oh, you know exactly.
Dude, that should be a new segment. Stupid news with Mark Carman.
Stupid news.
So
that's a great. Wow, I never come up with good segments. That's a good one.
When I was growing up, there was a phenomenal football team. And their name
Steven was really fast with that one.
And their name was the Chicago Bears, the 85 Bears, the Mike Ditka Bears. Like it was an organization that you felt like was the top. And then there was all, and like Green Bay sucked, and there was some, Dallas was big back then, Washington was big. But on a lower level, some of the first football games I ever went to was at Deerfield High School. And those guys coming out back in the day, they were like the Bears themselves. They were big time. All right. And news comes out today from Warrior Athletics. It's with deep gratitude and admiration that we announce the retirement of Steve Winicki, head coach at Deerfield High School football. 26 years, the cornerstone of Warrior football. Under his leadership, 150 wins, 7 CSL North titles, 15 playoff appearances, 2003 quarters, 2019 semifinals. Incredible run. Calling it a year. Calling it a career. 26 years. And they are starting their search for the next head coach for Deerfield High School. And I know a special teams coordinator who has put his heart and soul into making everybody better as a true leader every single day.
This is stupid news.
That has been able to lift a bricklayer to a slightly functioning podcast host. who's
that should be his Twitter handle or profile. Slightly functioning podcast host.
I am nominating Adam Hoge to the Deerfield High School community. He's probably going to say no. He's got like 8 million podcasts that he does, including this one. But I am nominating you, Hoge. This is your opportunity to make a difference and give back. We don't want to lose you, but we'll figure it out. We want you to take this gig, elevate yourself. I think you're the best candidate out there. I don't know any of the other candidates, but I'm nominating you. Deerfield High School. Keep the tradition rolling. Hoge.
Sounds like you're trying to get rid of me.
Not really.
The answer is no. Thank you.
Go on mute over here. Okay. No problem.
Nope.
I think actually, you know what? Carm should be slightly functioning podcast host.
Oh, I put Greg above me. I'm just here just for the drivel.
You are essentially the Doug Collins to Adam Hoge's Phil Jackson, where you brought him in. He was underneath, and you ended up being a complete failure.
Does that mean you're Tim Floyd?
I'm not Tim Floyd.
One of the worst analogies of all time. But it was a good effort.
I thought it made perfect sense.
How did he? Well,
because
I'm Collins, who are you?
No, I'm Phil Jackson.
He's Phil Jackson. You're
He
Doug
was taking
Collins.
himself out of it.
Right.
But he was here first.
He's going back to when I interned for you.
When he was your intern.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. You're going all the way back to the intern year.
And now he's the GOAT.
Right.
And you are a schlub.
Yeah. No, okay, I got you now. Thank you. I got it.
By the way, my dad corrected me in the comments. My mom would have been 72 today, not 71.
There we go. Papa Hoge out there. Appreciate you, Papa Hoge. All right, I had a lot of fun today.
You didn't even bring up Velus Jones.
Shout out to Velus. Go dominating Carolina. We didn't want him back. Just let him go. We got Darrington Evans. Maybe we should give the ball to Travis Homer. We're trying to win a Super Bowl here. I wouldn't want to develop young players. Is there any other veterans out there that can't play that we want to get on the roster for the rest of the season? Who could?
He will.
You never know what he's gonna say.
Maybe we could re-sign. Is Thomas Jones available for like a couple carries before? I wouldn't want to see Velus out there right now. That wouldn't be interesting. $1.99, Brandon Wolf. You're the man, Brandon Wolf. Another $5. Is Phil Snow a real person? If we won't go offensive-minded, we are even dumber than I thought, which is crazy. Whatever happened to Phil Snow, somebody needs to figure that out, and I should be the guy to do that. So
I had a friend in high school named Brandon Wolf.
It is interesting to watch this whole thing play out with, you're hearing so many different people say that they're going to do a program leader, somebody that has experience. Jeremy Fowler was on with us earlier. If you didn't get a chance to see that, make sure you go back and watch. But he talks about, they want to have an experienced coach because that's, they haven't made that hire the last few times around. So it is interesting because I know a lot of Bears fans are hung up on the idea of Ben Johnson, and that might not be what happens.
My concern with Ben Johnson is who's on his staff. That's my concern with Ben Johnson.
Right.
Because you've been working in Detroit. I don't think he's going to be able to bring people from Detroit within the division, and he might be coaching until February 9th.
Right. And as Adam Rank,
I just don't want – I like Ben Johnson. I'm just worried about the staff because – you don't want another Matt Nagy hiring Mark Helfrich situation.
Right. And as Adam Rank pointed out last night on our CHGO Bears After Dark, Mike Vrabel, his two offensive coordinators, he had Matt LaFleur and then Arthur Smith when LaFleur left.
Mm-hmm. Which I think that's a great underlining because people are like, hey, you can't hire a defensive guy. Well, yeah, he knew how to hire who to hire, right?
I'll be surprised if Vrabel's not a finalist. Let me say that.
$2 from Louis DePhillips. What's up, Louis? Why can't you talk to a consultant now, not a coach? I think that's
talking about Vrabel.
It's talking about Vrabel. Well,
Hoge?
He's on the staff. He's employed by another team. I don't think you can interview him.
It's an excellent question, but it's apparently illegal, and bad conversations are going on all the time. Elliot Gonzalez.
He's on the coaching staff.
Yeah. Elliot Gonzalez, $5. Mike LaFleur should be the next head coach. Matt LaFleur's brother learned under Kyle Shanahan and now Sean McVay. Anybody got anything on Mike LaFleur?
Well, he's the OC in L.A., the Rams.
All right, I'm going to spend the rest of my
Wikipedia?
Yes, I'm going to Wikipedia, and then I'm going to find articles. Then I'm going to, it's this thing. It's called research.
He was with the Jets before Aaron Rodgers got there and fired him.
What do you got on Mike LaFleur there, Mr. Wikipedia slander guy? $20 from Sudbury Bob. Crazy idea. Bears' first 3 2025 picks should be the offensive lineman and a high O-line pick each year until that group is solved. That position group has the highest hit rate and good ones unavailable as free agents' thoughts. What are you laughing at?
I just brought the whole show full circle to the beginning when we had Jeremy Fowler on to talk about the coaching
I went O-line. It was a little bit odd.
And he asked him a question that could definitely be repeated and asked at the Combine in a few months when we talk to Jeremy.
Well, so,
right. And then he had a follow-up on it.
I got excited. I went through. That's what I was going through.
I blacked out.
I went through Jeremy's tweets.
And that's
the
other
show.
thing
That's
I have
what
an
he's
issue
talking
with.
about. That's why.
That's the other issue I have too. Is the way you say Jeremy.
Question 5.
The way you say Jeremy is really pissing me off. You keep saying Jeremy, and then earlier I think you called him Bill Belichick. That pissed me off too, but that was probably just a mistake. But the Jeremy thing, I feel like, is how you call everyone Jeremy, and that, like, I'm not even a Jeremy, and it pisses me off. It's Jeremy, not Jeremy.
Jeremy.
You keep saying it. Is that how you call everyone Jeremy?
Yes.
I didn't notice it.
When you see Jeremy Roenick, do you call him Jeremy?
Steven, did you notice it?
Listen, I don't care what he just said. Trey Smith, for the record, who's the top guard out there. I'm completely pivoting. Trey Smith. You know what round he was picked in? Anybody? Mr. Wikipedia guy over here. Trey Smith was a 6th-round pick of the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bears that year had 3 6th-round picks. They picked Khalil Herbert, Daz Newsome, and whoever else they picked.
I think a safety.
It was 228. I have it in my notes. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah. The point is this. Take swings at offensive linemen, but get it right one time, man. Because if you don't, now they might have to go pay a guard $20 million. That sucks. That's no bueno.
They did try to pay Nate Davis.
We will re-rack this segment for you on March 7th.
I had a great time today. It was wonderful being with all of you. I'll be in the Discord later this afternoon. If anybody acts up in the Discord, I'm coming for you.
I'm serious about that, by the way.
I am. No nonsense. Sheriff Carman is here. I got Patrick Norton as my deputy, or I'm his deputy, whatever it is. This is a safe space. We are building a bridge to win a Super Bowl someday, maybe in the Discord.
Kind of doing an experiment right now, Stephen, where if I just stay quiet, how long will he go?
That's Adam
I've
Hoge.
been hovering over the end screen button for a good 3 minutes now.
I know.
That's Adam Hoge. He's Greg Braggs. He'll be on Spaces tonight or at your local Taco Bell. Stephen Nicholas did a great job producing. Probably both. Yeah. Double barrel action with some hot sauce. Shout out to Jeremy Fowler. Jeremy spoken. You could end the show now.
We all silly like the mayor.